Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. What if I told you the future of human potential is already here, and her name is Tilly Lockey? In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're spotlighting an extraordinary young woman who isn't just navigating the world of disability, she's actually redefining it. According to the World Health Organization, over 1.3 billion people globally live with some form of disability, representing 16% of the world's population. But what if we stopped seeing disability as a limitation and started seeing it as a launchpad for innovation? Tilly Lockey lost both of her hands to meningitis as a baby, but that was only the beginning of her story. Since the age of 9, she's been working with Open Bionics to co-create state-of-the-art bionic arms, pioneering a world where tech and humanity aren't at odds, but partners. Her work is redefining public perception around prosthetics, beauty, and what it means to be abled. Tilly is a bionic trailblazer, a motivational speaker, a creative technologist, and a fierce voice for inclusion. She's been featured on global platforms from BBC to Wired and continues to use her platform to empower others, especially the next generation of disabled youth. And today, this bionic beauty is going to join me to talk all about that journey, the tech that's shaped her and changing disability forever, and why inclusion isn't just a buzzword, it's a human right. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Tilly, you are a force to be reckoned with. You are a trailblazer, and I'm so honored to be chatting with you today. So I want to cover from survival to superhuman, which is essentially what you've done. And you've said before that you don't just want to survive, you want to thrive. And I love this mantra. So from your earliest experiences with meningitis to being fitted for your first bionic arm, your story is nothing short of phenomenal. Can you take us back to that moment you first realized you had no hands? And what was that adjustment like, both emotionally and physically?
Yeah, so it's been a journey to say the least, and it starts like right at the beginning because when I was born, I had like all four limbs. I was completely happy, healthy baby, like nothing seemed wrong at all. And it wasn't until I was 15 months old that I ended up contracting a terrible disease called meningococcal septicemia strain B in its full name. I was rushed to the hospital immediately. It was like no chance of survival, literally 0% is what my family were given. Like they were practically told to say their goodbyes. But obviously, I'm here today, and my little tiny body was somehow able to fight it. It was after 1 week in intensive care, 3 weeks in recovery, a second G infection, which I later contracted, and 10 blood transfusions that I had to have. But somehow I managed to pull through. I survived, and I'm here today. But the septicemia, that's blood poisoning, and you could see like it well and truly just devastated my hands. They were all curled over and black and like scabbed, and they were just truly dead. And there was even a point when I had the hands still attached where I was adapting to them being dead and like them, like the inevitable future of them not being there. Like I had my hands still attached and I was starting to pick things up with my wrists. So one thing that's been a constant in my life is like adaptation. Even when the hands are still attached, it's like I'm a tiny baby little girl and I realize they're no good for me, you know? So yeah, it's been from the time I was 1 year old, I lost my hands and that changed everything.
So let's talk about design. You've co-created bionic arms with Open Bionics that are not only functional, but look at you, fashionable. I mean, we're talking about superhero grade limbs inspired by Iron Man and Star Wars. It doesn't get better than this. So why was it important for you to be part of the design process? And how does the look and feel of your bionic arms impact the way you move through the world?
It was so important. It all came about because the first time we were exploring like prosthetics and things like that, and we were given this device. First of all, it was given to us in a brown paper bag as if something to be like really discreet about, and the whole reception was kind of weird. But then also pulled out this like device, and it was like not a device at all. We were like, how does it work? Like, how do I make it move? And they were like, oh no, it doesn't do anything. You just like stick it on the end of your arm to make it look more normal, get less stares in public. So it really was like my entire childhood, like being drilled into me that prosthetics was something that were like realistic and something that like tried to blend and like replace what you lost in the way as close to it as possible. But I don't feel like that had all the best benefits to me growing up. I feel like it definitely had an impact on me. You know, you're in your prime years where your brain's developing, and all you're being told is like to mask and hide this difference. So that sort of triggered like this whole journey of making prosthetics useful for a start, but also trying to get away from the whole idea that this is something we need to hide. Like, why was that the standard? We talk about physical benefits, but also the mental benefits of like wearing these bone columns and what they've given me in my life has been like so amazing. And I just realized it's not something that should be left behind, and we should
You're right.
experiment.
Celebrate. We should celebrate this. And how old are you right now?
I'm 19 right now.
You're 19. So this has truly shaped you in the most profound way. And for those of you listening and haven't tuned in to watch yet, you are hearing her hands move with a mechanism every time she does move them. So there is a sound that the prosthetic bionic limbs do make, correct?
Yes, there is. And I can keep it down, but I also think it sounds kind of cool.
So in your opinion, what does the future of bionics look like? And how close are we to a world where every child who needs a bionic limb can actually access one?
The rate at which technology is advancing and the people that it's helping is just going up and up and up, which is the best thing in the world. And that is my vision for the future. Like, I think the tech is going to get better and better inevitably. Like, it's going to get so good to the point where it's going to be sci-fi vibes, you know what I mean? But there is no point of all this advancement and amazing stuff in the tech world if people don't have access to it. So, like, I talk a lot about how the accessibility is so important, like bridging the gap, you know, between just the people who can afford it and people who can't. Like, it shouldn't be like that. If you want it and you would benefit from it, you should have it. Like, my motto is that having 4 limbs is a human right. Like, that's something I absolutely stand by. So yeah, my vision for the future is that it gets better and better, but also while it's getting better and better, we're working on the accessibility just as much, and like everybody can benefit from it. And I don't know how far off that is, but all we can do in the moment is look at it as an absolute priority, and in everything I do, that's at the forefront.
You are so well spoken, my dear. And you're right. Accessibility is absolutely everything. You can't spark change if only a few can afford to experience it, right? And I really hope more companies follow Open Bionics' lead in democratizing this kind of life-changing technology, because it's truly needed. So, which brings me to confidence and your identity, because you are very confident, but many people struggle with confidence, especially during their teenage years. And yet
Okay.
here you are, rocking red carpets, giving keynote talks, and redefining what beauty and confidence can look like with bionics. So, was there a specific moment you stopped feeling, say, different and started owning your power?
Well, I read something recently and I really resonate with that. It's just that you should find purpose in your pain. Like, because my life is like, I love my life. Like, I'm thriving. Like, genuinely, it's great at the minute. And like, but it hasn't always been that way. Do you know what I mean? I've had my own ups and downs. Like, my teenage years were nothing short of like, I don't know, like, you know, smooth sailing. Like, everyone goes through that. I think when I was like 13 years old, that's when it kind of like was the worst. Like, I was rolling sleeves down. I just couldn't be bothered with like all the stairs, and like it is just a constant thing of like, you look different, you feel different, you don't feel like you fit in. And that was a big thing I felt. And it wasn't even necessarily that I was rolling the sleeves down because I was ashamed and hated my difference personally, but it was more like I just couldn't live my life. Do you know what I mean? It was just something so distinctly different about me that it was more like other people couldn't ignore it. So some days when I just wanted to be treated like everybody else, that's when I'd roll the sleeves down. But at the same time, you shouldn't have to do that. Do you know what I mean? And I see little kids now in the same position, and I'm like, you think like this is awful now, but I promise you, you will get over it. I genuinely feel like it was one day where I literally just woke up and I was like, I just felt like I'd wasted so many summers, particularly. I think it was like summertime, and I was like, or anticipating summer, and I was like, I've wasted so much time just like sweating away in the summer, trying to wear as many layers as possible, trying to hide this away, when it shouldn't have to be like that. How many summers am I gonna waste before I like get the memo? Do you know what I mean?
There was a 2023 report from the Center for Talent Innovation, and it showed that 75% of disabled individuals hide, to your point, their disability at work or school out
Mhm.
of fear of being treated differently, which tells us inclusion still has a long way to go. What do you wish more people understood about disability and what real inclusion actually looks like?
It I think real inclusion is the lack of assumption. I think that's the biggest thing like people with disabilities deal with and why they want to hide the difference. Sometimes it's not a personal issue where like they just hate it about them. Like you say, like they're doing it at work and that. And I can tell you right now it's because they don't want their abilities to be judged by the disability that they present. Do you know what I mean? Because you would look at somebody with no hands and be like, well, they can't play the piano. Like, there was a long list of things where somebody came into my house and told my family when I was a baby, they were like, well, she's not going to do this, she's not going to do that. Piano was on that list. And my parents were like, well, who are you to tell us what our child can and can't do? Like, we're going to find a decrepit piano on eBay, literally falling apart. We're going to stick it in the kitchen. And if she wants to try it, regardless if she has no hands, she can try it. Do you know what I mean? And it got to the age of like when I was like 7, started to tinker with it because in my head I didn't think, oh, I've got no hands, I can't do it. I just thought there's a piano. Do you know what I mean? So let me try. And yeah, like now I play the piano with a prosthetic, which is literally made out of a toilet roll tube and a garden rake. Like it's the assumptions that people have when they see the disability, which makes people want to hide it because you're like, it's basically just like what you're capable of isn't defined by that disability. There's like ways to adapt, you know, and like ways around it that people don't initially see because all they see is the disability at first. Like that is a very real thing. So yeah, I just feel like to be more inclusive, people should just not draw so many conclusions so quick. Like give the person the opportunity to actually like show what they can do. I think that would go like a really, really long way.
Yeah. And allyship isn't just about words, it's about architecture, right? Systems, spaces, products, they all have to be designed with everyone in mind. So I think what you're saying is at this point right now, the inclusion really does start when we as a society want to take those assumptions away. And I love that you framed it like that. You're so mature. You're so mature. There's no way you're 19. You're an old soul. So let's talk about tech. So we live in a world obsessed with filters, perfection, and these curated identities. But your bionics, your real visible difference has become your superpower, right? So what would you say to a young person who feels like their difference is a disadvantage?
Same as before, sort of like turn your pain into purpose. Like my life has not been easy, but the most rewarding things that I've done has been like turning that whole narrative around. Like I would have loved to prance around with Iron Man glitter covered bionic arms, but I didn't have the confidence to do that. And so that's been the journey. Like my entire journey has been about making prosthetics beautiful. Like this is my difference, but it's also not just about accepting that now. It's not even about embracing it, but accentuating it in a really beautiful light. Like because that is what is different about you and who are you to hide it away and who are they to tell you to, you know?
Yeah. And you're proof that difference isn't something to hide, it's something to highlight. And I love that where this interview is headed. Now, before we sign off, I know that sustainability and a cleaner, kinder future matter to you. So in this segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, this beverage company is all about clean living with heart, hydrating the body and the soul without the junk. Much like the bionic space, they believe in minimizing harmful impact while maximizing human benefit. So how do you see the connection between sustainable innovation and inclusive innovation? And how can we keep building tech that uplifts everyone without leaving anyone or the planet behind?
Well, that's like the big conversation at the minute, isn't it? Because we're hearing all about AI and how that's like really not doing great things for the planet. I think we do really get carried away in like one aspect and just full steam ahead, you know what I mean? So it is really important to take into consideration, you know, all the other effects, and like we need this herb, do you know what I mean? So we definitely do need to look after it. And I hope that in the future there's just more eyes on that, to be honest. Like, I know there's a lot of people who defend the environment, but I also feel like it should be like big CEOs' mission as well as what they do, because otherwise we're just like gonna just keep hurting the planet, and then we won't even have somewhere to be. So yeah, it's really important, and I'd like to see the future of like more sustainable fashion. Like, I'm really into that because I'm super into the design and things like that. Like, I think sustainable fashion would be really, really great. More materials, hopefully, with the way tech develops. Like, we'll be able to melt down like 3D printed plastic that you can melt down and recycle. Ways like that, like, there are probably sustainable ways. People don't really look into them because they're just so full steam ahead and like the what's quickest way. But I think with the way the world is going, I think we are more aware of that now. And if we all like chip in, and maybe if there were regulations around it, that would be so good. Like, this is what you're endorsing, this is what you're getting involved in, and this is the impact it has. I feel like we should all take that into consideration.
Indeed. What a full circle moment. When whether it's a can of clean hydration or a world-changing bionic arm, the future has to be inclusive, accessible, and kind to our planet, to your point, and you're helping pave that way, Tilly. Well, we are officially at the end of our date, my friend. I'm going to let you get back to your campground, but thank you for being here today and for showing us that the future isn't just bright, it's bionic. I mean, you're not just giving people a hand, you're giving them hope.
Thank you. No, I know I try my best, and like, I just hope the next generation sees it like the beautiful thing it is. Like, they don't need to hide it, but it can actually be, something that enhances who they are and their personality. That's my vision.
To keep up with Tilly and her world-changing work, you can follow her directly on the gram at tilly.lockey across most platforms. You can check her out on TikTok at Tilly Lockey. And of course, this has been the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. You're listening to a Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.